In this video, I will tell you about the Fillet and Chamfer tool of AutoCAD. So using the Fillet tool, you can add rounded corners on the sharp edges, and using the Chamfer tool, you can add a straight line at the vertices or sharp corners. So I'll start with this geometry here. And now go to the modify panel and select the Fillet tool from this flyout. So here we have this Fillet tool. Now expand the command line and you will be able to see the current settings of the fillet. So currently the mode has been set as trim mode and the radius is set to 0. So obviously we cannot make a fillet with 0 radius. So we need to change the radius first. So click on the radius option and now change the radius. So I'll type 1 as the radius for this fillet and press enter. Now look at the command line. It prompts you to specify the first object. So click on this line segment, and that will be the first object. Now click on the second one and the fillet will be applied automatically. And as soon as the fillet is applied, the command will also end. Now if you want to repeat the fillet tool, simply press enter and you'll notice that the last settings are applied. So in this case, the radius is 1 and the mode is trim mode. So you can again apply the next fillet simply by clicking on the two line segments. After applying the fillet, the command automatically exits, and if you don't want the command to exit automatically, you can select the multiple tool. So once again, I'll press Ctrl Z a couple of times to return back to the original object, and now select this fillet tool. Now I'll select radius and change it to 1. Now here we have an option which is multiple option. So let's select this multiple option. And now select the first segment and second segment, and now you can see that the command is still active. So using the multiple option, you can create fillets on multiple edges without repeating the command again and again. So let's press escape key and press Ctrl Z. Now there is also a direct method of applying fillets on this kind of geometry. So in this case, if you click on any of the segments, you will notice that the complete geometry is selected. So this complete rectangle is made with a single segment. If you find this kind of geometry, you can apply fillet on all of these edges directly using single click. So for that, I'll once again select the fillet tool and I'll go to radius, select the radius of 1 unit, press enter, and now select the polyline tool. So in this case, we know that our object is a polyline and it is completely connected. So select the polyline tool, click on the object, and the fillet will be applied on all of these 4 vertices. So let's press Ctrl Z to return back to the normal geometry. Up to this point, we have seen that after applying the fillet, the extra portion is automatically chipped off. It's automatically removed. Now, if you want to keep that extra portion, for example, in this case, let's apply the fillet first. So I'll select the fillet tool, select the radius, select 1 as radius, and I apply fillet on this corner. Now the extra portion has been removed. Now, what if you want to keep that extra portion also? For that, you need to change the trim mode. So select the fillet. And here we have this mode as trim. So obviously we need to change this mode, and for changing this, click on this trim option and change it to no trim, and now apply the fillet. So I'll select this line segment and this line segment, and here we have it. The fillet has been applied, but this extra portion is also retained because we have changed the mode. And now you can apply the fillet by retaining the extra portion or the extra segment here. So obviously we do want to select the trim mode. We don't want this mode. So I'll go to this fillet option, click on this trim option, change it to trim mode. And now if I apply the fillet, it will remove the extra geometry. Now let's look at this condition here. Now in this case, both of these objects are not joining each other, but when we extend them somewhere, they connect each other. Now you can apply fillet on these objects as well. So select the fillet tool, and now select the radius option. And in this case, let's select a radius of 2 units and press enter. Now select the first object, select the second object, and we have the fillet here. So obviously the fillet is applied and the extra part of this line segment is also removed. Now press Ctrl Z, select the fillet tool, and in this case, let's change the radius to 0 and press enter. And let's try to apply the fillet here. So I'll select the first line segment and the second one, and in this case you'll notice that the objects will connect at their apparent point of intersection. So here the radius has been set to 0, and by setting the radius to 0 you can extend the objects two intersect at their apparent point of intersection. So you can do that with Fillet tool. Now all of these things can also be done for Chamfer tool. So I'll press Ctrl Z a couple of times to get back the original geometry, which is this one, and I'll start the Chamfer tool from the first rectangle here. So once again, go to the flyout, select the Chamfer tool, and now look at this mode here. So we have this trim mode obviously, but we have the chamfer distance as 0 for distance 1 and distance 2. So we need to change these parameters. So select the distance option and enter 1 as the first distance, and now enter 2 as second distance. And now I'll click on this line segment first, and then I'll click on this line segment as second distance. And now this chamfer has been applied. So in this case, we have applied the first chamfer distance as 1 unit, which will be this distance, the distance between this endpoint and the original vertex. The second chamfer distance was 2 units, which is the distance between the vertex and this endpoint. So the first and second distance is selected based on the point on which we click. So in this case, I clicked on this line segment first, so that became the first distance, and I clicked on this line segment, so that became the second distance. Now here we have the normal geometry. So in this case also, if you want to apply chamfer on all of these vertices, you can use the polyline option. So select the chamfer tool and select the distance, and I'll select 1 as the chamfer distance for first distance and also 1 for second distance. So in this case, we will have a completely uniform chamfer, and in this case also we have a multiple option. So using multiple option, you can repeat the command, and the chamfer command will not exit even after making a chamfer. And you can select the polyline option if you want to apply the chamfer on all of these vertices at once. So simply click here, and the chamfer has been applied on all of these vertices directly. In this case also, you can change the trim mode to retain the extra segment, and in this case also you can apply chamfer on this kind of geometry. So I'll select the chamfer tool and I'll select the distances here, and now I'll apply it in between these two segments. And here we have it, the distance 1 applied in between these two segments. So this was all about Fillet and Chamfer tool of AutoCAD.